All right, welcome everyone. This is Kristen Vincent, Chair of the Westborough School Committee. Today is Monday, August 17th, 2020. The school committee meeting was called to order at 5 p.m. when we entered into our executive session. Thank you for joining us this evening at this remote live stream school committee meeting. Due to the impacts of the COVID-19 virus, some aspects of the open meeting law have been suspended. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Westborough School Committee is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. Town officials and Westborough TV have worked together to hold this meeting via televideo conference and broadcast it as such on Westborough TV's government channels, Verizon 28 and Charter 192, and live streamed online at www.westboroughTV.org/live-stream-government for persons who would like to listen or to view this meeting while in progress. Any votes we take this evening will be roll call votes due to the remote participation. We'd like to say thank you to Westborough TV for covering the broadcast tonight. And as a reminder, a recording of this meeting can be accessed from the Westborough TV website and their YouTube channel at any time. We have with us tonight at our meeting Superintendent Amber Bach, Assistant Superintendent Dr. Daniel Mayer, Director of Finance and Administration Irene Oliver, Steve Durrett, Vice Chair of the Westborough School Committee, School Committee members Sarah Dulé, Lisa Edinburgh, and Raghu Nandan. Jen Benton is on, she's our School Committee Recording Secretary, and we have staff from Westborough TV who are handling the live stream and recording of this meeting. I'll review our agenda for this evening. We have just a few items tonight. We will vote to update some policies that we covered at our last meeting. Policy ACAB, EBCFA, and EBC with supplemental policies on COVID-related issues. And then we'll have a vote on our reopening plans, and then we'll be finished for the night. And as a reminder for everyone, our next school committee meeting will be Monday, August 31st at 6 p.m. So we'll begin with the policy updates that we have. If you remember last time, we discussed 3 policies that need updating. Policy ACAB is on sexual harassment, and this is related to updates that came from the federal government for Title IX. And the committee has had these policies now since we talked about them and looked them over. And this policy, ACAB, was actually updated with the consultation of legal counsel. So is there a motion to accept policy ACAB?
I'll make a motion
to accept the ACAB sexual harassment section.
Is there a second?
I'll take the second then. Sarah.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Is there any further discussion on this policy? All right, seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. So we'll start with Sarah.
Dulé, yes.
Raghu.
Nandan, yes.
Lisa.
Edinburgh, yes.
Steve.
Durrett, yes.
And Vincent, yes. That is 5-0. The next policy is definitely related to the conditions that we're facing right now with COVID-19, and this is policy EBCFA about face coverings. We had reviewed this last time, and it just sets a policy for having face coverings in our school buildings. And I would like to make an amendment to this policy, and the amendment would be to cross out the sentence at the end of the second paragraph that says, exempted from this policy are students in grade 1 and below. In Westborough Public Schools, we want to have a policy that all students grades pre-K to age 22 are required to wear a face mask that covers the nose and mouth. So I would propose that we strike out that sentence from this policy. So is there a motion to accept the amended policy?
So move.
Thank you. Is there a second?
This is Lisa, second.
Okay, any further discussion on this policy?
I just had maybe it's one clarification. Amber's pretty good at maybe giving us just a 20-second mini piece on just the difference between the policy and like a protocol that we would put in place like around this. Like we vote the policy, but the protocol would be in our plan or at the building level. I don't know if Amber wants to add to that a little bit.
Sure, no, just,
Sorry.
I think that's a great highlight for people who've been looking towards the plan where you'll pick up some additional detail on kind of implementation protocols. And then also down at the building level, you get down to that granular level where we put together videos. So kids get story video around mask wearing across age appropriate kind of clarity and marketing for that implementation. And then procedures for expectations that building by building and classroom by classroom are noted and then implemented by the faculty. So, you know, how to wear masks properly, what kind of procedures you want in terms of entering and exiting the school, all of that lives at that building-based level of implementation and gets detailed to faculty and procedural planning. There's a good amount of it in our plan, though, too, in the actual proposal. If you click on the link for the safety protocols, there's a good amount of detail there for people.
Thank you for that clarification. That was a good question, Sarah. And I think too, some of that also reminds me of information that might be in a student handbook. So we have a policy that we voted in, but the student handbook at each building level will help everyone understand what it looks like and sounds like for students and staff and all that stuff. So any other discussion on this policy about face coverings? All right, we will do a roll call vote. We'll start with Sarah.
Dulé, yes.
All right, Raghu
Nandan, yes.
and Lisa.
Edinburgh, yes.
Steve.
Durrett, yes.
All right, and Vincent, yes, 5-0. So we will have a new policy about face coverings. And then the last one is policy EBC. It's a supplemental, like a general interim policy on COVID-related issues. And it's long and it's full of all kinds of information that would help us have updates where COVID-19 policies and practices will be touching a lot of other policies that we already have passed and is a part of our school district. So it touches a lot of things that touch on daily operations and policies for safety and all kinds of things. And like transportation and operations and really just the whole operations in the whole district. So is there a motion to accept and pass policy EBC?
Durrett moves EBC as written.
Thank you. A second?
Sarah, I can second the motion.
Okay, is there any discussion for anything that you saw in there?
I have a
Lisa?
procedural question. So our policies are set without an expiration date until we change them. Is that correct? And if we at some point no longer need the COVID-related piece of the policy, would we come back and amend to remove it? Or does it just become like it expires in some form? I don't know how that works. Does anyone know?
That's a great question. And
I think I did see on this one, sorry, that it's somewhere, either was a summary that MASC, the Mass Association of School Committees, set us up with this, which was great guidance. And I think I did read somewhere that eventually, I don't know, whoever's on school committee, hopefully it's the same year, can go back and rescind these policies. Like you'd have to go back in and you could keep pieces of them, I guess, if they were still affecting things, but it did say you'd have to go back in and remove COVID interim policies from your manual.
Okay.
so we'd have to officially go in and rescind them. So we could rescind them as a whole group or individually. And like Sarah said, depending on, how schooling might change and things in our community might change, it might be pieces at a time.
Okay.
And good shout out to MASC for helping us with all of these ideas, because otherwise we'd have to go in and update and approve each one of these policies one at a time. So it's good to be able to do these in a group. Any other discussion? All right, we will do a roll call vote. Sarah?
Tula, yes.
All right, Raghu?
Nandan, yes.
Lisa?
Edinburgh, yes.
Steve?
Durrett, yes.
And Vincent, yes, 5-0. So that's great. I'll let Andrea know that these policies have been approved and updated, and she will get them up onto our policy site. And that's where they live. And anyone can access them at any time from the school committee portion of the Westborough Public Schools website. All right, so the next thing on our agenda is the vote of the reopening plans, and everyone received, and the school committee received a final return to school report. And I want to thank everyone who helped update that report and add in all of the details that I think will be really helpful for everyone moving forward. So I'm going to turn it over to Amber to kind of provide us with a few updates and kind of set the stage for the vote that we're going to take.
Great, thank you very much. And Daniel will pull up the report, which we will share some highlights on before we turn it back to you for voting and discussion. And so I want to acknowledge that really the core purpose of tonight was to bring you forward as a school committee to be able to vote on our reopening plans. We need to submit our reopening plans tonight to the state, they're due. And a couple of things were put into place to help us, which is one, I applied for a delay to the state to be able to enter our plan tonight. You then moved your vote to this evening. And I want to acknowledge that your purpose in doing so was that you wanted to value the importance of waiting for your faculty to vote on a memorandum of understanding, indicating that we've come to agreement to all work forward in getting open successfully. So I want to commend you for coordinating, waiting for this vote, and I want to thank everybody who's helped all of this happen. So you had two important pieces you were waiting for. One, you wanted us to take all of the updates from the presentation of August 12th. We showed you the majority of collaborative changes that we had made to the original design of the opening plan, which was done in working sessions with faculty to continue to refine and improve what they wanted to endorse as something that they felt echoed the way they wanted to work to return with energy and focus to working with our students. And all of that acknowledging the immense stress that it puts them under to come back to work. And we all knew the importance of that meant the collaboration to try to reach a shared agreement. So tonight we'll give you a quick overview of the additions that we dropped into the plan. All of the things we discussed with you on the 12th were then folded into the final proposal, and Daniel and I will quickly step you through it here in a minute and show you that we'll push this out after the completion of tonight's meeting or early tomorrow morning after we submit it to the state. And we'll give you a chance to see that all of the adjustments that we made are highlighted in blue, and we'll step you through that in a minute, and we'll make it very readable for everyone. I think more importantly, what we knew was that we wanted to wait for our colleagues and faculty to have a chance to vote on a memorandum of understanding. And I'm exceptionally pleased to announce that they passed it after a very large vote turnout for an 80% in favor and 20% against. And that is a huge acknowledgement of approval of our shared purpose. 80% of a large turnout feels very, very validating of our shared work together. But I also know that it's important for me to acknowledge that the way we've always tried to work is to bring everybody on board, and we really always know and want to acknowledge that the 20% that voted against this plan are our hardworking faculty and people we care deeply about. And I want to acknowledge that all of us in collaboration with the union will continue to do everything we can to provide a quality opening that provides strong instruction to every student in Westborough and also supports and cares for and protects our faculties. So I think that it's I am deeply gratified and want to acknowledge that the work of the labor board to push us to voice concerns, all of the changes and adjustments that were made, also from parent feedback, you'll see in this report when we step you through in just a minute. But I just want to acknowledge my deep respect for, I think when you're in good relationships with people, you can come together, you can disagree, you can argue, you can celebrate, you can regroup. All of those things are truths about how we've worked forward on this. And I really want to issue my acknowledgement of deep respect for everyone who has remained at the table with us on all of this. So you have a vote tonight that I think is an important one, obviously, for us, and I deeply respect that you waited for the vote of the faculty. I want to acknowledge as well, we'll step you through this plan here for a minute. We'll get right to it so that you have a chance to share your thinking, because this is your meeting tonight and your vote. Daniel, if you scroll through, I just want to show quickly a couple key highlights. We'll keep it to about 5 minutes. So one of the things we did is we added a table of contents for you, and we put some hyperlinks so that you can get to places throughout the report. And if you scroll on through quickly here, you'll see that as you go along, Daniel, anything in blue represents updates to the original plan, and it shows an acknowledgement and the list of all the teachers that we had participating with us. And if you keep scrolling, Daniel, a couple of highlights of areas that speak to feedback we got from parents, things you wanted to see in the report. So when you get to this section here, we acknowledge that this was our original benchmark data, but I want to scroll you down to the place where we show some of the schedules and sample schedules and information so that people can start to develop a picture of the model. And you'll see that in the section where we enhance more information here about the cohort structure and more content as Daniel scrolls down. When you get to some, there's a visualization of what the updated graphic looks like for implementing. And the best way for you to study that is you can see the standalone, you can see our support for high needs complex learners, and the rotation of the cohort model in a nice visual. And again, that's something we collaborated on. I think additionally, if you scroll further, you'll see that then we move into a section where we then show you a sample of the hybrid away learning day. Really, people want them to get a picture of what that feels like. And so we tried to give you some sense that's a bell-to-bell schedule of a full day and what are the types of things that would be going on and how that day might be structured. I want to roll forward through there again and acknowledge that the feedback we also shared as we look at this is the phased entry modifications that we made to the plan. And then when you get to the standalone model, a lot of people felt that they needed more detail. And again, I want to stop here and say it is a bell-to-bell schedule day, just like the hybrid instruction. Every Westborough student will get a full day of instruction in whatever model they are in, provided by Westborough faculty. And when you look at this model, you see sample schedules of the bell-to-bell schedule for the remote learning days as examples. These are not exact, but they give you a model of a picture of the day. And if you scroll a little further, you'll see that this gives you some of the details to the types of answers people were looking for us. And I hope you feel that it echoes that we're listening to your feedback. When you hit safety protocols, there's been huge additions to the safety protocols, which I want to call out as we're heading back to the Board of Health to continue working with them on acknowledging that they accepted our plan and proposal in the framework and expected to see, and hope we're excited to see, more updates to overall planning. In the safety protocol link, you have to click that safety protocol link and hop into that document. We put hyperlinks in there. We put a table of contents for you. All of that's really essential for you to see extensive additions in the protocols there, fleshing out how we'll implement fine arts and PE and lunch and transportation, things you've asked for more detail on that we gave you a few snapshots on at the last week, and now they've pulled into that document. There's actually a training video in there from the transportation company. So there's a lot of detail in this report based upon the feedback you gave us. The next piece where we've taken a lot of feedback, and I want to call out highlights, Sherry Stevens, Director of Student Support, put out an additional communication today to CPAC, our collaborative parent group for students with unique and challenged learning needs. And so In addition to that, this section has been rewritten and enhanced with more information. And if you keep scrolling down, you'll hit, I think, the last core piece, which is you'll get to some calendar highlights, and then a key area where you hit time-sensitive next steps. So following the vote, and again, we're assuming that after your discussion and your vote, that if we have a favorable vote in approval of this plan, I think it's important you realize before you take your vote that I feel strongly that as superintendent, I need you to approve this plan so we can submit it to the state. I'm seeking your support in approving it in full, recognizing that it's imperfect for everyone, but in support of the best compromises we could make for all of us, faculty, families, and students. And there are many time-sensitive steps I need to act on. We need to announce the cohorts, whether people are in Navy or Cardinal, or attending more days if they have complex needs. We need to staff both hybrid and a standalone this week so that faculty know their assignments after the voting of this plan, and then all the details that happen for classless schedules and everything. There will be some delays in that. We'll put out reasonable benchmarks, but these are all things that we really need to push on. I want to be clear, we're already working on them, but until we have this vote and we tell the definitive information, we'll staff as quickly as possible and then release our cohorts. So Daniel and I put in about 4 to 6 hours today on looking at all that preliminary sorting of staffing requests and then also cohort work. So I'm hopeful again to get your approval tonight, and I will turn it over to you, Madam Chair, to keep moving forward.
Thank you. Thank you for those updates, and to everyone who contributed to this plan. Got a lot of great details in there, lots of links, so make sure parents know to click on those links. And I think you just provided a lot of homework for the families in our district to really receive that report, to look it over, to look at the updates, and just letting parents know that there'll be a lot more communication coming following our vote tonight, so that they'll be aware of all of the steps needed to take to open our school year. So at this time, I am looking for a motion regarding the return to school report.
I'll move for our school, reopening of our school.
And I'll second the motion.
Okay, so there's a motion to approve the return to school report in a second. Is there any discussion? I think there is.
I don't know if it's discussion or, I mean, I just have like some comments.
Yeah, Sarah, you can start us off with your comment.
All right, it's been a lot, so I had to write this down, so bear with me. Okay. We're all making difficult decisions right now with no clear answers. I'd like you to know this is very personal for me as well. I've spent a lot of time over the past 12 years pouring my time and energy into the Westborough Public Schools. I have dear friends that work for the schools. I have fostered relationships with many staff members at all levels, from custodians to bus drivers, new aides, secretaries, teachers, paras, cafeteria workers, truly everyone. I send my children and their friends to the schools on the bus every day to those people I trust and have the utmost respect for. I'm proud of the Westborough Public Schools and all we provide for our students, families, and this community. Now it's no different. We have to find a way to open our schools to the students that are so desperate to return to even a fraction of their normal lives and routines. It's up to the adults in their lives to figure that out for them. And I think we have come as close as possible with the phased-in hybrid plan that was created in the labor board meetings, represented by faculty, administration, and the school committee acting on behalf of the Westborough community. It is a risk-benefit plan with time for acclimation and adjustment. I care deeply about everyone I just mentioned and would never want to intentionally put anyone in harm's way. Mitigating factors such as personal vigilance, hand washing, mask wearing, and social distancing will all help to keep individuals safe. We all can and should work together to protect each other daily. Families need to do their part. I do not see this as just send your kids to school and hope for the best. I ask that parents and caregivers help children to practice mask wearing, keep good health and hygiene practices, and instill the values in their children needed to get us all through this. We should also all call on our legislatures for increased rapid testing results as well. I have read countless emails and generally cannot disagree with many viewpoints and people's personal feelings. I have had every feeling imaginable as well. Parents and teachers are equally concerned about establishing routines, switching between models, feeling connected while in the standalone remote learning program, mask fatigue, AP classes, college applications, IEPs, special education, English language learners, social and emotional learning, time on learning, childcare, our vulnerable populations, adequate facilities for hand washing and sanitizing, risk of infections, quarantine procedures, and most importantly, the safety of their own families and loved ones. I'm worried about how all this will go too, but I'm even more worried if we don't even try to get students back to school, especially while our COVID numbers are low and manageable. I will look to the Board of Health for guidance and sound decision-making and to provide metrics for moving between models and containing any possible spread of the virus. In a district-wide plan, I'm not trying to put one group's needs over another. More figuring out a way to keep each other as safe as possible while providing the in-person instruction that many of our students want to return to. As well, now the standalone remote learning program will be able to be staffed appropriately and then to establish classes with schedules and routines. I hope this helped to see how the plan is coming together with some of the new information that was presented tonight. We need to make sure these students and staff remain connected to the building-based learning groups as well. I'm determined to stay positive and in relationship with those that will be doing the work. Many suggestions from parents and staff have been included in the plans, and input will continue to be considered. Lastly, again, a huge thank you to the hundreds of people that took their time and expertise this summer to reinvent school as we know it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Other comments, discussion?
I'll go in. So, in reviewing the plan, it's got my support only because of three important things I was looking for. One is flexibility in the plan. Our willingness to take inputs and try to incorporate into the plan as much as possible, and also not make it final going forward as well. If things turn bad, God forbid, and we have to go to fully remote, we are prepared, as it was shown in March, that we can quickly ramp up to fully remote model. Also, the option of standalone remote learning model gives an option for those students who are not comfortable yet to return to school, in school, for the hybrid model. The second point I want to make is the mitigation efforts to keep the schools and the student population safe. We have taken extra measures in the plan to keep them as much safe as possible, and any input towards the safety measures would also be welcome, and we'll incorporate into the plan. The third one is, as you all know, we got numerous emails supporting all types of plans, and I did not take my oath easily. I took it very seriously, and whenever I got a request in emails for remote learning, I was looking at what is it, when can we open the school in an hybrid model or in person for in-person schooling. So in most cases we were looking for in remote learning close to zero case. I talked to several people who are experts in the field about when realistically we can reach this near zero case, and frankly, even if the vaccines come to the market, most likely they won't be manufactured in US. There will be logistics behind a supply chain and quality control of those vaccines. And until major portions of the population are administered with vaccine, you're looking at 10 to 12 months after the vaccine comes to market, when major portions of the population are vaccinated, and we can really go back to life pre-COVID as we knew it. So in analyzing that, we are looking at close to a year and a half to 2 years before we go to that situation. So we really, given those facts and conditions, we really have to be thinking that we should try with the hybrid model, with the remote learning, with the hybrid model, and give the option for remote learning those who are not comfortable. And given those conditions in place, I'm okay with the plan.
Thank you for your thoughts on that. Lisa, you want to share?
Okay. I just want to thank everyone, teachers, parents, and students who reached out through emails, phone calls, texts, to offer their opinions about the plan, yay and nay, your concerns, blind spots, and how each plan would affect your family, your children, and yourselves. Establishing the 4 models did not arrive without considerable thought, preparation, and gravity to their effect on us all. I pushed from day one for safety, and I thank the district and safety protocol team for hiring the RMF engineering company, who recommended several avenues for mitigation and actions on our systems in 8 of our buildings, including the preschool and the borough space. And you can read the 9-page report or the 2-page summary links within the safety protocol, the 21-page safety protocol report. And I laugh, but I don't, because what I find is that the 21-page report, the safety protocols, is quite extensive. And when it comes to safety, I believe that Westborough Public Schools has gone above and beyond for our school community, now also inclusive in collaboration with the Westborough Board of Health. And also vital for me was the fluidity of the models, being able to move from hybrid to remote models and back, and potentially to full in-person. Although the current hybrid model may not be perfect, I believe in the age of COVID-19, it stands as the optimal approach for safety, a quality education, meeting the variety of populations in our schools. It meets the needs, it works for students with special needs, and a protection for students who need our schools for healthcare, food services, social emotional support, some social interaction, and a reprieve from abuse. It serves what felt necessary to offer. For those disappointed by the outcome, I still believe we did the best we could do when thinking about our working families, our teachers, our entire staff, and our students. And with that, I do support the hybrid model as stated in the report.
Thank you, Lisa. Steve, do you have anything you want to offer?
Yes, I do. And I think you've heard most of the cogent points relative to the effort that was put in by the administration and the oversight by the school committee. What I would like to point out to anybody listening tonight is, in my mind, the summary of the issues associated with this particular story shows up on the opinion page of the Telegram and Gazette on Saturday morning. And the story is called, and by the way, it's on page 4, and it's called, How Long Are We Willing to Let Our Children Live Like This? And the author is Molly Bicchieri, of the, who is a special ed teacher in Millbury, excuse me. It summarizes the issue, probably the best I've seen in a long time of these really focused discussions that we've talked about. Many people have written to the school committee and have been identified, at least in subject matter tonight, by the school committee. have a specific focus for themselves, for their family, for their children who go to the school. And it's amazing how many different opinions there are as to what is best for them. Unfortunately, our charge as a member of the school committee is to what's best for most and do whatever we can to mitigate these circumstances for which others who may not agree with what we've done tonight, but to the best of our ability, create an atmosphere that is as safe as we can do, satisfies what the state has asked us to do, and most specifically, identifies to the best of our ability the needs of our students. The Westborough School Committee and School District and Superintendent and all the other people who work within the district have one goal in common, and that is to educate the children and to keep them safe. And as I said, I think the article that I mentioned is the best statement for all of the balls that are in the air that we have to balance. But the bottom line is that our children need to be educated, that if they aren't going back to school in some form, that they will be damaged, and that those who specifically need the attention of the school district and school administration and staff have gone without for 6 months, and many of those may have lost an awful lot in their life. And so that's the reason behind my at least motion to accept the plan as proposed by the school district as being the best we can do under the circumstances that we're operating in. And as Raghu has said, simply, the plan is flexible enough for us to react as quickly as possible to satisfy the needs and safety of the children, as well as providing the education that, granted, will not be exactly the same as what it was before, but it is as close as we can get to what's needed here. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you, Steve. And I have a few thoughts to add to everyone else's. So when we set out on the creation of a back to school plan, we knew that the support of our teachers was vital. And we released a draft and then worked in close relationship with them, accepting feedback from all stakeholders. We did not want to take a vote on the plan until we had worked with our teachers. And I want to say that I care deeply for Westborough teachers and staff. My daughter has had amazing teachers in Westborough every year since kindergarten, and I've always supported the work of our teachers. As a former fourth grade teacher and now a parent, I completely understand the apprehension and worry that both teachers and parents have about returning to school. I'm very concerned about everyone's health and safety. It's never my intention to downplay or minimize risks, as I have heard in some recent feedback. Juggling the schedule of the phased-in entry and half-day online Fridays is going to be very difficult for some students and families. And yet our families who chose the hybrid model are going to do what it takes to make it work, because school is extremely important to them. Parents make sacrifices to live in Westborough so they can send their kids to our top-notch schools, and they will continue to do so to support the high-quality education that their children receive here from our excellent, kind, and caring teachers. The structure of our public schools in this state leaves the school committee charged to make this important decision. And no plan is ideal, but I feel strongly that we have to try to open school at the start of the school year. Complex learners, students with special needs, English language learners, and others need so much more than what remote learning can provide. The Board of Health supports our efforts to open school, even encouraging the consideration of a full in-person plan, and the number of cases in our community remain low at this time. I feel it's time now to establish the return to school plan and move forward as a community. This plan is not perfect, and it's also not set in stone. As Raghu said, we need to be flexible and make adjustments to both models of instruction as we go along to respond to the changing dynamics in our community and the needs of our students. Regardless of the model of instruction, I know our teachers will be working hard and thoughtfully with every single one of our students. I want to recognize that parents had choices in how their children would be educated this school year, and those who chose hybrid for their children, including myself, are putting their trust in our district and our staff and our teachers. Parents and caregivers know, we definitely know that our teachers will do outstanding work as they always have. And I want to remind everyone that schools operate within communities. And one of the safest ways to protect schools is to make sure that COVID-19 never gets to our school in the first place. We all have a responsibility moving forward, teachers, parents, students, and all our community members, to keep each other safe, physically safe and healthy with our behavior, and emotionally safe and supported with our words. I hope we can all look for opportunities for renewed energy, creativity, and strength. We'll certainly learn a lot about ourselves and about each other and about our community this school year. And I hope these challenging times allow us to grow closer together as a community. I'm sorry for being so emotional, but it has been extremely difficult just to hear all the feedback, and my heart goes out to everyone knowing that this is a very difficult decision. Okay, is there any more discussion? Absolutely not. Okay, so I think we're ready to take our vote, and it's going to be a roll call vote. So we'll start with Sarah.
Everyone did a great job. Thank you. This has been really tough. So hang in there. Dulé, yes.
Okay, Raghu.
Nandan, yes.
Isa.
Edinburgh, yes.
Steve.
Correct, yes.
And Vincent, yes, 5-0. So I'm pleased with this vote, and I am pleased with the support of our teachers. And I know that we are going to do the best we can to take care of each other as we move forward. And now that we have this plan, and we will be sending off to the state ASAP, because we might be one of the last districts to send it in. I know that really great work is going to move forward. So Amber, I don't know if you want to close us out with anything.
I do. I know this is so hard, and obviously that's why I chose to live and work in Westborough, because I think it's a place of heart, and I know that everybody genuinely recognizes that we want the best for all of us, not one over another. And so your words tonight and your planning speak to your heart, and I appreciate that. And I know that the stresses you've been under with the feedback are very, very hard to sift through, but I think they've led to a better plan. They've led to a deep understanding of exactly what it means for everyone to come back. And I think that while it can be parts of it painful and complex, we know in depth how everyone feels, and we've worked to mitigate those changes, and we come to take steps forward without doing it in any kind of cavalier or, way that's like, okay, check the box and move on to the next thing. Like, we understand the magnitude of opening well and providing quality instruction. I would work for no one else other than Westborough teachers. They will do it right. They are an incredible faculty. You've seen that from them, as you just said, again and again. And I think that the call for all families to accept the responsibility of what it means for them to return to school with their families and to continue to properly distance and to teach their children how to return to school in a healthy and proper way will all be important. This is the start of a next tier of work. I thank you for this. In order for us to bring families and faculty back in a well-organized way and to kind of click into that next level of work, this vote is essential. Daniel and I will submit it to the state and defend it. You are probably one of the few school districts in the state right now that has been able to navigate and was invested in collaborating with your teachers. You made very large concessions that pushed on families as well, and I know that was very hard for you. But I think you met in the middle, and I want to acknowledge that, because you have a faculty that will respect that you worked with them in the way you wanted them to return. And none of us would ever want to compromise the energy and emotional commitment it takes for a teacher to do their best work with our children. So this is work you were invested in for that reason. I applaud you waiting on the vote. We will submit it. We will dig in. And to parents and faculty, I say we look forward to opening our year, and we will do it well. So thank you. I think you can all take a breath, and I encourage all of you to take a break from email yourselves and for the rest of the evening, and just take some space. You deserve it. And then we'll gear up for the next piece of work. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Daniel, I didn't know if you had anything you wanted to add. No.
I can't be more eloquent than Amber just was.
I hear you.
And I don't want any more crying. So.
No more crying. But I really, truly feel like this will be, this school year is going to bring us together. I do not feel that this is dividing us in any way. And so I look forward to a stronger Westborough because of it. And with that, can I please have a motion to adjourn our meeting tonight?
I make a motion. Lisa seconds it.
Great. I don't think there's any discussion about adjourning our meeting right now. So we'll take a roll call vote. We'll start with Sarah.
Dulé, yes.
Raghu.
London, yes.
Lisa.
Edinburgh, yes.
Steve.
Durrett, yes.
And Vincent, yes, 5-0. Our meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you.